Hi guys, Nick here. Today I'm going to show you how to use the sum function in Microsoft Excel. It might sound crazy, but there are a lot of people that are new to the software or are unfamiliar about the different ways that you can actually use sum within Microsoft Excel. So you might find this useful and informative. If you do, smash a like button, subscribe if you're new, and let's jump into the desktop and take a look. Okay, so the first way that we can do this is kind of like an old school method. We kind of call it add. So you can come down here and you can basically go into this little cell down here. We can hit equals. We can then go and click onto the first cell and hit the plus icon, then the second, plus the third, plus the fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and then of course eighth. I actually remove that, plus the 8, plus the 9. So you have 9 different cells, and you just put the plus icon in between them all, press enter, and you'll end up with the same result. This is kind of like your really basic manual way of doing it. It's not the most streamlined. The next way is to actually use the sum function in itself. Now, there is a shortcut to this just up here in the top right hand corner of your home tab of the ribbon that says Autosum. From that drop down menu, you can see that the default is sum, but there's a whole host of other functions here as well. But if we go ahead and we just click on that, it's going to put in equals sum, open up a bracket, E2 to E10. It's going to highlight all of the cells automatically that it can find numbers in and that basically are adjacent to where you selected this function. Okay, so let me kind of break that down so you can understand. Down here, you can see that the adjacent numbers are all of these ones just above it. Now, if I click in the cell below that, it's got no numbers adjacent to it. So if I click on the AutoSum function this way, it's going to try to find some, and it's going to shoot all the way to the top here to find some numbers, but it'll also include that blank area at the bottom. If I come over here where you can see that there's no numbers above and there's no numbers to the right or to the left or underneath, well, if I go ahead and hit this now, it's only going to give me the actual sum here without any kind of auto selection process. So when you're directly next to the set of numbers that you're looking to calculate, you can go ahead and click AutoSum and press enter, and it's going to return all of those results for you. Alternatively, of course, what you can do is click equals, type in the words sum, open up a parentheses, select by clicking and dragging down the selection process, and then close the parentheses, press enter, and you'll end up with the result. Next on the list is what if you only want to sum something that if the results are higher than a certain number or contain, a different criteria range, right? So in our basic example here, if we go equals and we go sum if, we open up a bracket, you can see that you get these kind of parts of the criteria. Okay, so the first one is what range are we trying to sum? Well, we're going to select this entire range here, but this time I only want to summarize things if they are greater than 10. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put a comma, then in quotations I'm going to put a greater than symbol, 10, close those quotations, close the parentheses, press return, and it's going to summarize everything that is greater than 10, essentially 16 down here to 256. And you can see that that comes into 496 as your result. Okay, so just make sure that if you're doing this, you put in these quotation marks, these double quotation marks in between the greater than and the number that you're trying to do. It also works if you want to summarize anything less than 10 or less than 1, or if you only want to know the negative numbers rather than the positive numbers. But this also works if you are going to have a criteria range as well. Okay, so you could have that your criteria is different. But for the most part, the easiest way to do this is to obviously make sure that you are summarizing a range and then you put in your criteria. But what if you are using Microsoft 365? Well, if you're using Microsoft 365, there's a new function called SUMIFS, and it is a lot more powerful. So if we open up this formula, we go equal SUMIFS, open up a bracket, you get your sum range, which in this case can be right here. Okay, then we put in a comma, we then have the criteria range. Well, the criteria range in our case is going to be the same range, but you could have a different range over here if you wanted to, but we're going to use the same range as what we've had before. I'm going to go ahead and try that again by actually selecting the correct range. We're going to choose this one here. Okay, and then we hit comma again. Now we have the criteria. I want to summarize things that are greater than 10. So again, I'm going to use the quotations, double quotations, greater than 10. Okay, and then I'm going to hit another comma mark. Okay, now what this is going to do is it's going to open up criteria range 2. Again, I'm going to select the same range that we've already selected before, and I'm going to hit comma. This time the criteria is going to be in quotations less than, I'm going to say 100. Okay, and then we're going to put the quotations in, and then I'm going to close this parentheses off, press return, and it's going to summarize now the numbers that sit between 10 and 100, or more specifically, greater than 10 and less than 100, so 11 to 99 essentially, and it's going to summarize any numbers that fit within that criteria, and in this particular case that would be 112. Okay, so there's a lot of different ways that you can go ahead and use sum within Microsoft Excel. Some of them are super simple, where you're just plussing things together, or using the Autosum function. And sometimes you want one singular criteria, and if you're using Microsoft 365, well, now you have the ability to add in multiple criterias and summarize your ranges based on those criterias. And those criterias, of course, can be in different columns altogether. So if you wanted to only summarize based on a name or a piece of text, you absolutely can do that. And so there you have it. It's as easy as that to use sum, SUMIF, and SUMIFS within Microsoft Excel, depending on your use cases. Now, if you found this video useful and informative, smash that like button for me, guys. It really helps the channel out massively. It helps me help you. So let's get those likes up. And of course, if you want to stay up to date with all of the latest in terms of hints and tips when it comes to Microsoft Excel and a whole host of other softwares, then make sure to subscribe to the channel. Now, if you guys are interested and you haven't checked it out yet, you might be really curious to know about this video right here. Why don't you give it a click and find out?